Well, hi everybody. First of all, huge thanks to Milbillie for putting out yesterday's live feed from the hearing, or the preliminary hearing, if you like, of Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach versus Laura, Moira and Netflix, which of course was being conducted by Judge William Duffin, who doesn't need much introduction to any of us. Milbillie, just thanks very much. I can't imagine how much time and effort you've had to put into doing that. I'm sure it's not easy to just log in and stream it. I'm sure you had to go through jump various hurdles and negotiate various loopholes and stuff. So as I say, thank you very much, Milbillie. How lucky are we to have Milbillie? Looking at the obviously the contents of the video, interesting, wasn't it, that there was no show by Michael Griesbach? Maybe he's got other more important matters to deal with. Who knows? But he did not join in the conference. We hear that Judge Duffin was actually asked for. He didn't actually specify who asked him, but we got the impression that he had been asked for. And he quoted the fact that he had officiated, obviously, in the Brendan Dassey case. Now, he said that he'd never watched Making a Murderer. And he said that he'd never watched it so that he wouldn't be influenced. I find that very hard to imagine. I know that publicly that's probably a good thing for him to say, that he's never watched it, he's not influenced by Making a Murderer. But can you seriously imagine anybody involved in the legal system in America, and particularly in Wisconsin, so close to Manitowoc, somebody involved in the legal profession as he is, not having watched Making a Murderer? I find that hard to imagine. But anyway, we'll take his word for it. As I say, I find it hard to imagine that he hasn't watched it. I mean, we hear when it first came out, the Scott Walkers, the Brad Schimmels and the Robert Hermans advising not to watch it because it's biased, when they hadn't even watched it themselves. It's quite comical. But as I say, it's so interesting. I've just finished watching The Jinx. The Jinx was something that a friend of mine suggested watching long before I even saw Making a Murderer. She said, you want to watch this thing, The Jinx, and I hadn't, and it was amazing. Just finished watching it, and for those of you that are interested, the case against Robert Durst, the murder of Susan Berman, started last year, but has been delayed through COVID, and the trial is due to restart after having started and had 6 days. It's due to restart in April of this year. But I just found it incredible that you've got this case, the Robert Durst case, and it was The Jinx, the documentary, that unravelled, that managed to get the evidence that showed that Robert Durst was indeed clearly the sender of the letter to the Beverly police. But anyway, let's move on. As I say, I don't really want to get too bogged down with that. Duffin's assertion that he hasn't watched it, that he doesn't want to be influenced, and yet he mentions that the plaintiff, i.e. Andy Colburn, wanted him to do so, and that they wanted him to read all the transcripts and to act as a finder of facts. That they wanted him to realise their point of view, that you know, the film editors had used cut and paste out of context to give the wrong impression. And he just said, no. If you want that, then you'll have to go down the private mediation route. He said he's not going to watch all 10 hours. Go down the private mediation route and pay somebody per hour to do all this stuff. So he made it clear that he's there to act as a mediator rather than a finder of fact. Now, he then went on to say that, you know, he wanted to set aside a full day, but that he doesn't want lots of exhibits. As I say, he stressed the fact that, you know, a fact finder, if they want a fact finder that knows the case and watched Making a Murderer, that's not him. He's there as a mediator. And then what was really interesting was that he mentioned that there had been no settlement discussions to date. Nothing. You know, one wonders if Andy Colburn was waiting for Netflix to get in touch and say, you know, can we settle this out of court? Because then he would be at an advantage. And clearly that has not happened thus far. He then went on to explain what he wanted to do in this. Eventually they set a date of, I believe, Tuesday, March the 9th, to have this next mediation session. And he said that he wanted opening but brief statements by both sides. He likes the other side, you know, both sides, to hear the other side's point of view. But he pointed out that in, you know, the first session, as he said, he's not looking at dollars, which seems as if, you know, possibly he's thinking that there will be dollars involved. You know, we wait and see. And he said that what he'll do is he'll ask questions, he'll prepare, he'll ask questions to get a better understanding of the session. If they have a second session, then the money issue and other avenues to resolving the case could be looked at. He then set a date of March the 9th, and he wants some exchange of information by February the 16th. He wants the plaintiff, Andy Colburn's side, to prepare a written statement demanding what they want financially and why that figure that they suggest is appropriate. And then obviously Laura and Moira, by the, that was once an exchange from the plaintiff by February the 16th, and then by February the 23rd, a written statement and response from Laura, Moira and Netflix, and their reasons for their offer. I can imagine what their offer is going to be, and it's going to be a big fat zero, I hope anyway. Then he said that he can compromise in best case scenarios. If there's a you know, two figures that aren't too far apart, then he can compromise. But if they are hopelessly far apart, he'll simply cancel the 9th mediation meeting. And then he pointed out that, you know, again, look, going forward, bearing in mind if that's the case, that by March the 2nd, he wanted both sides to send him letters. In fact, he wanted, as I say, two letters. He wants the first letter sent to him, which obviously I think he's referring to an email, emails from both sides, where everybody is carbon copied into these emails. And he wanted, the first letter, to be shared, as I say, shared by everyone. The first letter to discuss the issues of fact, law and damages. But the second, you know, so that he can get a good perspective of the case from both sides, and for everybody to understand everybody else's perspective. But he wanted a second letter that wasn't to be shared with all the parties. It was just the individual parties' opinions and outlooks. And what he said was, that this would not be shared with all the parties. So what he wanted was them to point out any facts that the other sides were not aware of, or he felt that hadn't been given adequate weight. Any problems that any side had with their client, and any hurdle preventing settlement. He did point out, though, that he's not looking in this second letter for what would be termed a bottom line number. He said then he can discuss with everyone, but he wouldn't share stuff that was sent to him sort of privately, as it were, if the other parties don't want if the party doesn't want that information shared. He said he wants to. He sometimes only gets one, but he's hopeful that that both sides will understand what he's wanting. He said that then he will, in preparation, he will draw up questions for both sides based on what had been submitted. Then there could be breakout sessions. He said he'll go as long as it takes to resolve. But if clearly it's not working, he'll tell them. He said hopefully they can resolve this. He pointed out, and one wonders which side in particular he's addressing, that litigation is time-consuming and expensive. And he said he thinks that both sides would prefer a settlement. I'm not sure about that. I think, I think the tables have been turned. You remember in January of 2006, again, another Milbillie video, where Laura Riccardi is talking to Stephen Avery and basically berating him for having, settled his civil suit, giving away so much to Manitrot County Sheriff's Department. I can't see Laura Riccardi, particular, as she does have a law background, willing to give anything to Colburn and Griesbach, based on that interview. And so one wonders, when the judge talks about litigation being time-consuming, well, I'm sure Laura and Moira are getting great footage for episode 3. And expensive. One wonders who has got the deeper pockets here. Is it Laura and Moira and Netflix, or Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach? Do you think the state would be willing to back them with the expense of this? Now, it did occur to me, of course, that probably Mike Griesbach and Andy Colburn maybe not expecting anything. That's why they've never stated what they wanted. Maybe this is all just a publicity stunt. This is typical Manitrot Sheriff's Department. If you dare to threaten us, we'll threaten you back with a vengeance. For Duffin to say that he thinks both sides would prefer a settlement, I really don't think that Laura, Moira, and Netflix are going to be offering Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach a penny, because as I say, I think the tables have turned. I think that the two filmmakers, Netflix, they have the upper hand here. They have the financial clout. They have the much deeper pockets, surely, than Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach, and I'm sure that they can stay in the game a lot longer than those two appalling characters. So as I say, that would be my take on what we've heard. I was really pleased when I heard the fact that there had been no discussion about a settlement figure thus far. Bit of brinkmanship may be going on, but I don't see why Laura and Moira and Netflix should be paying lying Andy Colburn and Greasy Greaseback lying Mike G, should be paying them anything. And let's take this as far as they possibly can. Let's take this all the way through the courts. Let's see what kind of stomach Colburn and Greaseback have for a fight, and let's see what they, you know, let's get them out in the public. They'll slip up. Inevitably, they will back themselves into a corner. And I'm sure Kathleen Zellner, sat in Chicago, would enjoy every minute of that. Anyway, that's my thoughts. As usual, you can post your thoughts at the bottom. Let us know what you think. I was reminded of cartoon character trying to tell me that once Colburn has sorted out, Colburn and Greaseback have sorted out Netflix and the filmmakers, then he's going to take a civil suit on all the people that on YouTube that have posted videos. I do look forward to that. I so look forward to that cartoon character. You are funny. You are funny. I must admit. Yeah, you certainly live up to your name. Okay, we'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.